Welcome back to Season 2 of Chasing Summer Sailing, where we leave from Cape Canaveral and head down to Miami to start our journey around the world.
I swing hard, leave it out there, no regrets. My blood is in the water and the sharks are taking bets. They circle in, waiting for my final breath, but they won't see me drown. I hoist my sails for the treasure in the sea. The winds that blow behind me take me where I'm supposed to be. I'm raising hell for the ones who don't believe. Their words can't drag me down. When the wind rips the tide, I will sail, reach the other side. Let the storm run wild. I was born for this. I'm unsinkable.
Good morning. It's about 3 a.m. We're getting ready to shove off. Attempt number 2. We're playing with some water tanks. Looks like a couple of our water tanks are leaking. Something I should have figured out before. But we have plenty of water still. So we figured out how all that seems to be working. So we're going to be okay on that. And we got the water maker. It seems to be, we're holding about, out of the 250 gallons we're supposed to hold, I think we're holding about 120. Should put us pretty safe on the amount of fresh water we need. But like I said, we have a water maker just in case we got to run out, and then I'll have to figure out what to do, because we definitely can't be running the water maker all the time or every day. It's not really meant for that, but it is what it is. We're getting ready to shove off. I just wanted to show you something I've done in the past. It's always worked for me. I'm typically short-handed, so what I like to do, and I only do this when I'm about to leave, I don't tie it up like this. Right before I leave, I come down to the dock and I take my lines and I loop them around and back to the boat. So by creating a loop, you don't have to get off the boat to untie the lines and then toss them back on and have to have someone on shore. So you can untie one, pull it on board, untie it from your own cleat, and then pull it on board. So just a little something that I typically do before we take off if we're on a slip like this, just to make it a little easier. It's like 10 a.m. in the morning. We've made it to, I think, we're passing Sebastian, maybe a little further south. We've got really only about 4 knots of wind, so we're having a motor. And it's off and on wind, so that part's a little disappointing, but it's a beautiful day out. All right, wind dropped down, so we put up the spinnaker. Let's take a look. See if I can walk there and look at the camera at the same time. She's looking good. So we're getting about 7 knots of wind, and we're cruising at about 6 knots. So I'm pretty happy with that. Should put us into Miami around 8 to 10 a.m.
Pack your bags, let's sail away. Sunny skies, we're on our way. Feel the breeze, feel the sway. Good vibes coming every day. Blue waves calling.
Well, we've officially made it to Miami.
So bright under stars and moonlit nights, laughing, love, everything's alright.
So our charge controller, our cheapo from Amazon, already went out. That's what I get for being cheap. It was $40. The Bouge RV 60 amp one seems to be doing just fine. haven't got more than 400 watts from our solar panels yet, and it's 800 watts worth of solar, and that was the highest we've got. So we're going to switch to our other 2 solar panels and put them on this controller and see if we get better charge out of those, to see if there's an issue or if it's just with the general shading. So we need to take these 2 power ones out, swap them with those power ones, and go from there.
Away in pure delight.
Good morning. So looking like we ran out of water, so we're gonna break out the water maker and test that system for the first time. We made it roughly 7 days with water, but we had some issues at the beginning, so we may have wasted some. So what we're gonna do is we're going to fire up the water maker, get it filling in my one that feeds my tanks 3 and 5. And we are going to go ahead and open up tanks 3 and 5 to make sure that the water is going in there correctly, because I feel like we went through that water kind of fast, but maybe not. Maybe we just weren't monitoring it correctly enough. We have been taking pretty decent showers, so we should be good. But that's what we're going to get started on. Alright, so how this works, I got my little Honda generator. We've got our Rain Man water maker over here. You plug that in, okay, and then we've got our membranes. So essentially what we do is we take our big white hose, we throw it over the side, it sucks up the salt water, and then it goes through the pre-filter into the membrane. The membrane then forces the water out through the high pressure, removing all the salt and all the other impurities, and then we're going to force that over into a bucket, test the water, because right now it's got a pickling solution in it, let it run for 3 to 5 minutes, then we can start filling up our tanks. Alright, it's going to be a little loud, but as you can see, we started it up, and there's a little valve on the high pressure, so you need this to get up into this darker green area right here. So what you do is you got to make sure this is all the way wide open when you start, so you don't blow the pressure, and then you slowly increase it. And you'll see that little thing popping up. Now it does it in increments, so you can't just keep going until it's there, because it'll keep building as you go. So you just keep turning it nice and slow. Let it sit for a few minutes and see where we're at. So as that adjusts, one other thing to see is your old salt water is going out that green hose. That's what's called your brine. And our good water is going to be coming out this white hose once we get it up to pressure. So right now it's barely anything, but once we get it all the way up to the correct pressure, should be getting about 30 gallons an hour. Getting somewhere between 37 gallons an hour. So it comes with this little gauge, and basically this will float and tell you how many gallons an hour you're pushing through here right now. So we're running actually over, probably closer to 40 gallons an hour, which is pretty decent. Yeah. Running for a couple hours and our tanks should be full. So once you get the water running, fill up your little cup. I've got a TDS meter. So basically that's total dissolved solids inside of your thing, and anything less than 500 is clean to drink. Your tap water is probably running 450, so you put it in your water. And we are reading 132. So that is way cleaner than any sink water you're gonna get. So you're good to start filling up your boat. That's all it is. All right, Landon, what are we doing?
Go diving. If that's some fish for dinner, we dive around the reef and see if we can spear something too.
Island stops, endless fun. Sand and sea under the sun. Drink in hand, we're just begun. Every moment beneath the sky. Dreams unfold, don't wonder why. Adventure calls, let's fly.
Well, we're out diving and our engine stopped working. We're not too far away, but we're not super close either. Luckily we've got oars, and I think the tide's pushing us towards land, not out to sea, so that's a good thing. I have faith in CJ, he's gonna fix this. What do you think the problem might be? Yeah?
I just don't know why.
So like not getting pressure in there, or?
Well, the motor is not starting. Pretty sure it's fuel. Tom made the rules to take all the clamps and hoses off, so I can't seem to get those off. We're gonna try and get closer to land. So we're a little bit safer seeing as it's sundown in about 2 hours. Maybe get these guys to give us a lift.
I think we'll make it. We made it over to the boat.
Yeah, we're getting towed in. Luckily they took pity on us, so we can work on it when we get back. So just a quick recap of this last week. Landon flew down. We had a great time sailing down. Got down here, did a little exploring, made it under the bridge by about 1.5 feet. So we got to do some exploring and we had a lot of fun. We happened to be here during Art Basel. Not really my scene, but it was interesting to see what it's all about. And then yesterday is when things just started to go wrong. So we went out diving, and dinghy's been working great these last 3 days. We've been zipping all around, and we start on our way back at our last dive spot, and the dinghy motor just turns off, just dies, and I cannot figure out why. So I tried to diagnose it out there in the water. No go. And then, as you saw in the video, someone had to come and pick us up. And luckily, they saved us a long time. And they towed us back over to the bridge, and then we had to row for about 15 minutes. Ugh, sorry. And it's been pretty much downhill since then. I spent all day today trying diagnosing that problem. I don't know what's going on. I think it's fuel related, but it's getting fuel into the pump. There's no obstructions. I've taken everything apart, cleaned it, and put it back in. It could be bad fuel, but that same fuel has run my little generator for hours and hours and hours, so that makes me think it's not the fuel. And now I'm just kind of at a loss. So I called a mechanic. He's gonna come tomorrow, and I gotta row it over to the marina right over there, which is fine. I don't know that I trust mechanics really, because a lot of times I feel like they're just kind of out here to make a quick buck. But hopefully I'm wrong. I would really love to be wrong. I could use a win. Like I said, I had a great week with Landon, but these are not the type of issues I really wanted to have. And then on top of all that, there's an air bleeder valve on the supply side of the water tanks. So when our water pump starts pulling, it will start sucking air immediately, and so it doesn't get the pressure to pump it out. And you would think an air bleeder valve would be a relatively easy thing to just swap out. They don't make these plumbing pipes anymore, so there's no caps for this, or bleeder valves. this boat is from 1991 and was made in France, so it's not a part anymore. I've looked it up, I can't find it. So I gotta find some way to stop this air from coming in. When I hold my thumb on it, it works just fine. But I can't obviously sit there with my thumb on it every time we want to use the water. So that's a problem. So I'm gonna start with trying to diagnose that. I should have filmed me taking apart the engine, but it was a lot of redundant taking things off and putting them back together and blowing through the fuel lines. So, all right, so I paddled over to where I'm meeting the mechanic this morning. I don't have high hopes. I'm pretty sure he's going to show up here for 5 minutes, tell me it's my fuel pump, and then say, well, that's $300. I'm going to be a little bit pissed, but I guess it's better to know for sure it's my fuel pump than to spend money on a fuel pump and not be fixed. So I don't know what the right call is, but he's on his way over. I'll show you what it's been doing though. So it fires right up, it's staying primed. Fires right up, stays primed. That light eventually goes off. And it'll just do this for sometimes a minute, and then it just dies. Revving it up doesn't seem to help. In fact, as soon as you put in gear, it dies, which makes me think it's something to do with fuel because it requires more fuel and it dies. But it went through the entire fuel side yesterday and it's not anything I could find. So I'm just gonna chill here at this little marina. Hopefully they don't try and kick me out. I tried to earn some good karma points by picking up the trash on my way in. But I rescued this sweet fender because I only have one on my boat and that's probably really stupid. But now I have two and that's really cool. Alright, so I've made it back to the boat. So basically, exactly what I said was gonna happen happened. The guy showed up, and don't get me wrong, he was very nice. I know I'm paying for his knowledge, not his time. But he shows up and goes, alright, well let me take a look. And I told him everything that's been going on, I fired it up. He's like, alright. He's like, it's probably your fuel pump. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of what I thought. And he took out a gauge, put it on this little spot on the motor and goes, yeah, this is it fired up and started losing pressure. It's supposed to be at 35 and it dropped down to 25 and then 10 and then kills out every time. So the other party that I've already checked, he's like, this is your mechanical pump. He's like, that's pushing fine, it's your electric pump. So you need to order one of those. And then looks at me and goes, well, that'll be $300 for 15 minutes or less. He insists that I have to bring him back to install it. I'm probably not gonna do that. I don't see a point because it is not a very complicated thing, and he seems to say it is, but I looked at the parts diagram, it's really not that bad. And I don't know. He wanted to charge me $750 for the part, for the electric fuel pump. I found it on Amazon for $26. I found a same part for $50, or it was like $46, but it could be here this Friday and we leave Saturday. So I'd rather pay the extra $20. I paid the expedited shipping to get here Friday. But all in all, $56 and I should be up and running. So hopefully that works. Until then, I'm just gonna be chilling. So I got the part for the electric fuel pump. So I'm gonna try to change it here myself, the anchor, which is gonna be a pain in the ass. But it's right inside this. This is your VST, vapor separator tank. And right in here is the part I need to. So ideally all these hoses would come off, but these kind of have these fancy fixed clamps. And I'm not really sure. I'm sure I could just pop it off. I don't really know. But it's also got one on the back side. So I'm going to try to change it right here. And just get that lid off and then swap it out. So hopefully it goes relatively easy. So once you get it all taken apart, this is the piece, okay? This is your electric fuel pump. I'm assuming the fuel goes in the bottom. something on the inside mechanicalizer and it shoots it out the top. If you look over here, it's really just plug and play. The two little positive and negatives go here, and the other one slides in there, and then you slide it right back down. This is what the mechanic told me that I was not going to be able to do because it is too complicated for a normal person who doesn't know what they're doing. You plug it in. That is it. You've got 6 bolts around this with an O-ring, so make sure you don't lose that O-ring that sits right there. And you put it back in. Simple as that. Mechanics are crooks.